Welcome back to Giants Latest. The Giants take on the Niners at home on Sunday. So let's get right into it, starting with injury updates because I don't have great news. But let's start with the bad because maybe there's a little bit of good news with the injury. I mean, it's not great, but it's something. These 6 players did not participate in practice. Paulson Adebo, Daniel Bellinger, Jermaine Illuminor, Cordell Flatt, Chauncey Goldstein, and Art Green. Now, out of these guys, I'm the least worried about Jermaine Illuminor because he said that on a play with him and Jalen Carter last week, he has a pec injury, and that's why he actually left the game because he got a brace put on and wore that for the rest of the game. He's going to wear it again this week. He said he is playing on Sunday. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. What I am a little bit worried about with Jermaine Illuminor is that he had one of his worst games last week. Now, he's been playing fantastic this year. He's done a really nice job, but he's coming off not a great game, and now we find out he has this injury, and he's going into this game wearing a brace and dealing with an injury. So I just hope that he is able to kind of put that behind him and hopefully not let it bother him. But I don't know how cumbersome a chest brace is when you're an offensive lineman. So I'm a little concerned about that, but Jermaine has enough experience in this league that I'm sure he's used to wearing it by now. He's probably been wearing it all week and going to be able to not let it bother him and play well because we need a big game out of him. Next up, the players who were limited, Bo Collins, Javon Holland, and Chris Manhertz, who's dealing with an illness. Out of this group, it's very important that Javon Holland is back on the field on Sunday because we have a cornerback problem, which we're going to talk about when we get to the defense. But I need Javon Holland out there on the field because I think we missed him a lot more than we expected to last week. So Holland being back is a good thing, but it's not going to make up for the fact that we don't have any corners. Last up, the players who were full participants, Jalen Hyatt, he had his wisdom teeth out on, I think, Tuesday, so he didn't practice Wednesday, but was back at it Thursday. Tyler Nubin, who was dealing with a foot, but he's fully cleared, good to go. Rico Payton, who's dealing with a groin, he's eligible to come off of IR, so he's been practicing this week. We'll talk about him with the defense. And then next up is GVR, who's just had a rest day, basically, as a vet. So, talking about the Niners, I am recording this on Thursday night. It is well past 8 p.m. and the Niners have not released their injury report. So I'm going based on what happened yesterday. So here's the thing. Out of these Niners players, these are to me the ones that are most important. Jake Brandell, who is their starting center, is dealing with a hamstring injury. He did not practice on Wednesday. If the Niners are anything like the Giants when it comes to hamstring injuries, he's not playing on Sunday. If he is playing, look, at this point in the season, probably not everyone is 100%, but if you're on the injury list and dealing with a hamstring and you did not practice on Wednesday, possibly Thursday, if you play on Sunday, I think there's a little cause for concern there and maybe a position that the Giants can exploit on defense. Next up, we have Bryce Huff. We all, I think, know Bryce Huff, their defensive lineman, who is also did not practice because of a hamstring. So again, a position that the Giants hopefully are going to be able to take advantage of, knowing that if Bryce Huff is not on the field, they still do not have Nick Bosa. They do not have Fred Warner. They are missing some of their best, most talented players on defense, and the Giants have to be able to take advantage of that. Christian McCaffrey just had a rest day. Same thing for Trent Williams. So obviously, I don't think we have to worry about that. Ricky Pearsall, another one, did not practice on Wednesday. So still, again, TBD on Thursday. But I would say, again, guys who don't practice on Wednesday, it typically means that it's not looking good for them on Sunday. Again, this is especially when it comes to the Giants, but I think I would argue the same thing with the Niners, that it's probably not looking good for him either. Brock Purdy was limited on Wednesday, which means unless he had a setback, he was also limited on Thursday. So it's trending in the right direction that we are going to see Brock Purdy on Sunday. And then lastly, we have D. Winters, who is one of their linebackers. Again, they are missing Fred Warner. Winters did not practice on Wednesday with a knee injury. So I'm going to keep checking, and if there are any updates towards the end of this video, I will talk about that so we can get into it. In the meantime, let's go ahead and talk about the players to watch. So if there's one thing that the Giants have to do this week, it is run the ball successfully. They have to be able to run the ball or they are not beating anyone, especially this Niners team. So it's going to be a big week for Tyron Tracy Jr. We know that the front office loves Tracy and they love motor, but the reality is we're going to see more of Tracy. So he needs to be smart about ball security. That goes for everyone on this team because the Niners defense are leading the NFL in forced fumbles. So when you have players like Jackson Dart, like Motor, like Tyrone Tracy, who have all fumbled the ball before, you have to really focus on ball security this week. So that's going to be one of my biggest keys to win for this Giants team is you cannot turn the ball over. So I need them all to be smart about that, but I'm excited to see Tracy. Obviously had that awesome 31-yard touchdown run. So he's, I think, getting back into it and obviously going to get the bulk of it. Next has to be Wan'Dale Robinson. You have to involve Wan'Dale Robinson in this offense. And as much as I complain about the fact that I hate some of the play calls that they give him, he is a productive player. You have to get the ball in his hands. Now, he also has to get open. That is also a problem. The lack of separation on all of these receivers, but especially someone like Wan'Dale, who's just not as big and not able to escape quickly. You got to be able to do that this week. This is not one of the top, defenses in the NFL, so take advantage of that. Wan'Dale has to be productive, and they have to get him the ball. The last thing is I want to talk about the tight end position because Daniel Bellinger is not going to play with this neck injury, which means that Theo Johnson is going to be a key piece of this offense. I think that means they're going to use Chris Manhertz more as a blocking tight end, and that Theo Johnson is going to be that receiving guy that they like to rely on as they have since he started with the team last year. You got to catch the ball, Theo. I mean, the throw that Dart made to him that could have been a touchdown or at the very least would have gotten them into the red zone. The back shoulder throw that he dropped was infuriating. Theo, you have to catch the ball this week. It's a really big opportunity for him to be a big playmaker for this offense and to help convert on third down, to be a big target for Jackson Dart. Catch the ball, Theo, please. I'm begging you. Next up, let's talk about this defense. The one thing that the Niners didn't do well last week was run the ball. And they have Christian McCaffrey, which is absolutely wild to me. But you know that they are going to focus on running the ball this week, especially after the film that they watched on the Giants defense against the Eagles. Because if Tank Bigsby can get 100 yards on this defense, Christian McCaffrey is going to try for that and then some. So they have to be able to slow down the run. Now, they don't have to be able to stop it because that's not realistic for this football team, in case you haven't noticed. I just need them to slow it down a little bit. CMC is good at everything, which is going to be part of the problem. But if they don't have Ricky Pearsall and, they obviously... They're going to utilize George Kittle now that he's back, but they don't have some of these superstar wide receivers that they have had in the past. We are not going against A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith this week, which is a good thing because we have cornerback problems, but it's a bad thing because I also think that they can probably make Kendrick Bourne look like A.J. Brown this week, knowing that he's going to be going against either Rico Payton or Tay Banks. So a little concerned about that because, like I said, we're not going to have a Debo and we're not going to have Fly. So we are missing our two starting cornerbacks on Sunday. So I need anyone to step up this week on defense. I will say that I think Dexter Lawrence is going to bounce back this week. I think after everything that happened with him and Carl Banks, I think it was the little push in the ass that he needs. And whatever it takes. There seems to be no accountability in this building. So if it means that a former player has to call you out, so be it. And if it works, Carl Banks, you better get on that goddamn podcast on Monday and call out every single other player who looked like shit. Because maybe that's what they need. They need to be embarrassed by a player who wore the same uniform and won 2 Super Bowls. Whatever it takes, okay? Figure it out. So I think Dexter's going to have a big game. I think this is definitely a game to watch for him. I also think Darius Alexander, we have to talk about him because he has done a really nice job this year. Now, he hasn't gotten as many snaps as someone like Roy Robertson Harris or even Nacho, but he has been impactful when he's been in the game. And again, knowing that their starting center is dealing with an injury and might not play, so we might be dealing with a backup center, you have to take advantage of that, and that is the interior offensive line. You got to make plays. So I think that Dexter and whoever's next to him, Darius Alexander, Nacho, Roy Robertson Harris, step up this week. And I really want to see Kayvon do the same. Abdul Carter and Brian Burns are both having great years, and Kayvon is also having a great year. I do feel like a lot of these players are getting held a lot, and it is what it is, but I just want to see a couple more sacks this week. Brian Burns has been the most consistent of the group. I'm waiting on Abdul Carter to get that sack. He's been an impact player. He would have had more sacks if the quarterbacks didn't get intentional grounding or whatever other calls they've been getting against them that have been negating his sacks. But he's been an impactful player, and I just want to see him knock a quarterback on their ass. I really do. So I hope this is the week. But the defensive line is going to have a lot of work ahead of them, knowing that they got to make up for the lack of talent behind them at the corner position. So with that being said, because I am most worried about the corner position, I think this is going to be a tough game for the Giants to win. I think they're absolutely capable of winning. If they don't turn the ball over, if they slow down CMC, if they have a successful run game, if receivers can help out the quarterback, there is no reason why the Giants can't win this. None. They've got a healthy kicker. They've got, they have things that are going to help them. But the reality is the Niners, even though they're injured, they still have talent. They can still run the ball. And guess what? Their coaches are a hell of a lot better than ours. Rob Saleh and Kyle Shanahan, damn good at their jobs. And they came out and they were very complimentary about Jackson Dart, which was really nice to see. But they're going to come out there and do whatever they can to confuse the quarterback and try to whip our ass. So we have to play smart football. We have to play complimentary football. We have to play, we have to be, what's the word that I'm looking for? Disciplined. No penalties this game, especially not in the red zone, okay? So don't beat yourself is what I want to see out of this team on Sunday. But the reality is I do think the Niners are going to win. Giants, prove me wrong. Go out there, beat the Niners. Nothing would make me happier than to finally get our third win on the season and maybe get some momentum going. So we'll see. I'll be back on Monday with a game recap. Go Giants. Subscribe for more.